What's up, everybody? We're back with another reaction video. I'm gonna be reacting to Marathon Infinity review from Mandalore Gaming. So I'm just gonna jump right into it because this one is a doozy. It's like 58 minutes, so strap in, boys and girls. I keep hearing stuff because kids playing in my neighbor's yard. And they like, I don't know, someone threw something and it hit the fence. And at first I thought it hit my house. And I was like, what the fuck was that? I looked at, he threw like, it looked like a brick but he has a fence there. It's like we have two fences. And it hit their fence because I was like, you better not hit my fence. Just got that fence. Shit. But anyway, here we go. What the fuck? Why'd he come flying towards him? Player of the game was like, whoa, like, what? Oh, I thought something was wrong. I was like, just freeze? I was watching some on YouTube earlier and the screen froze.
If you thought the first Marathon could be loopy, Marathon Infinity is a whole new level. The game also wasn't developed entirely by Bungie, but by a new studio called Double Ought. Now, Double Ought was filled with and founded by ex-Bungie employees.
I keep thinking there's a
Greg
naked
Kirkpatrick. He's credited for Marathon 1's story and 2's along with Jason Jones. So it's kind of like how System Shock 2 was made by two companies who were essentially still all Looking Glass. Though in their case, Looking Glass died off and Irrational went on to make more games. Here, Double Ought died before finishing their next game, and Bungie went on to make more. Also, this was originally just going to be an expansion for Marathon 2, but it broke beyond those boundaries and even released the map editor called Forge. Now you can make Marathon levels forever. There were some community map editing tools
like make your
this,
own damn level, because we done after this.
They did let you open some maps to see the funny writing there, but Forge was a game changer. There are still elaborate scenarios made today like Marathon Eternal or Marathon Huge. It might not be the Forge people know now, but it laid the groundwork. Anyways, you know what Alpha 1 is by now, so let's start the game.
I keep, you see me fidgeting.
Power of 7 strike.
This is because I was just outside sitting out trying to get some sun before it started raining. And a fucking bunch of, well, it was a bunch, it's like 3 ants. I was like, got on me, it got in my hair. I was like, what the fuck? And so I got bit a couple times. And I was like, and I did like that. It was like on my hand. I only saw 3. So now I'm like fidgeting. I feel stuff on me.
Like 2,
so you see me like, I ain't on no drugs. Oh, okay. Just jump right into it. No 2-hour cutscene here. I guess it still don't have the music that he was talking about in the second game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm going to consult the manual.
It seems more ominous, though.
The introduction past the little blurb isn't about you or an AI. It's about 4 Admiral Fear, the one who had appeared to kill Durandal, who in reality had let himself
Durandal, that's what
so that Thoth would think things are out of balance and contact
Marathon Durandal
or something.
I lived, bitch.
The report describes Marathon 2 from the 4 perspective, except there are details that aren't correct at all. Fear describes Battlegroup 7 as ambushing the AI successfully and causing him to retreat out into an asteroid field. The field contained a hidden space station which the 4 weren't aware of until now. Okay, clearly you're aboard that space station. But there's more because Fear describes activating the early Nova device. Durandal warns them not to on account of an ancient being living in the sun, but they ignore it. So the work in Kakantar is unleashed and Fear and Battlegroup 7 are completely annihilated. There are no details of the event or the slaughter beyond it was as if the universe had forgotten its own rules. It seems like in his final moments, Fear wanted to blame the loss of the fleet on an Elder God instead of a single AI. It's a biased report and explains some details not adding up. Though I thought Durandal captured the flagship and some other stuff seems out of place. These games have always had mystifying starts and this one is no different. Bungie had come a long way from Nop. Oh, you know Nop, it's like Pong, but
no,
well, it is
I know.
There's no madness lore here. Just a funny little ball traveling around.
Oh, I used to
As
play
for
Pong so
Infinity,
much
there's
back
now
in
at
the
least
day.
one Elder God on the loose. Durandal did bring you to a hidden space station, so he must have a plan.
Things have gone terribly awry. Until now, I thought myself immortal. But now I know that is not true. There are things that can destroy me with the ease that I slaughtered the 4 naval garrison and the western arm of their battle group 7. But in their final gasp, they used a weapon that I thought they had retired. Even Tycho tried to keep them from using it. Now I fear what that weapon has unleashed will destroy us. I once boasted to be able to count the atoms in a cloud, to understand them all, predict them, and so did I predict you. But this new chaos is entirely terrible, mindless, obeying rules that I don't comprehend. And it is hungry.
Oh, we're fucked.
Yeah, I
It's
was
too
like,
bad.
that
Perhaps
sounds
if I could have
bad.
delayed the 4 from using their weapon, I could have sent you to explore the ruins of Loan. Perhaps what you found would give us the answers that we now need so desperately. How to stop this chaos, the purpose of the station on which you're currently standing, and why the chaos hasn't come here yet. But with each moment the chaos grows. I am doomed to die here, after so many triumphs. I have detected one ship nearby, which I can only guess is being commanded by Tycho.
This damn
The 4
Bluetooth
have entered the
fucking up.
station, and if you can find a way onto their ship, you may be able to escape. To escape. To escape.
There's no plan to fight it, and
To
we're essentially
escape.
doomed. There are some things that stick out. For once,
We're
he's
all
genuinely
fucked.
shaken up
Just
and he's
give up.
confused. He says that he wishes he sent you to the ruins of Lawan to find out more, which we did, but I guess he means to research the work in Kakantur specifically. It's worded strangely, but he has a lot on his mind. He is destined to die and thinks that you might, maybe, be able to escape. I mean, you could say escaping
It's
Elder
humid
Cave
now,
is
so
all
now
Marathon
it starts
Infinity, but
sweating.
you could
The
say a lot
sun
of things are Marathon
come back
Infinity.
after the rain.
The first level is one of the darkest visually in the series, and the terminals you find don't elaborate a lot. Like the one that's several pages of what looks like hex code. And the level exit seems like it could be a message from Thoth, but it's not clear. A line of infinite ends, finite finishing the one remains oblique and pure. Arcing to the single point of consciousness. Find yourself, starting back. This leads to a scrolling image for the chapter that lasts about 40 seconds. Our first chapter is despair. Then you have no clue where you are again. I guess Bossman will know what's
Just
happening.
this will not be
Came around
pleasant.
earlier than the scientist expected. Remind me to have him executed. You've been in cold sleep for some time, but you're luckier than some of your friends. Not all of you survived the translation to the 4 slave tanks.
Wait, conditioned unit 7?
If you're a little lightheaded, then let me bring you up to speed. I am Tycho, Artificial Intelligence Esquire. As of this moment, I am taking over this ship from its poor captain. He is spending most of his time trying to keep me from locking into him and dropping him into space. Soon.
I thought I was boarding a ship, but what's
Soon.
happening? The underling 4 are on my side now, and we're massacring the
What's
officers to mutiny a
happening?
ship. Where did Durandal go?
Durandal thinks he's so smart, but he doesn't realize that I've been following him around for the last 11 years.
He doesn't realize that he's a
Stop
fucking
trying to
idiot.
dissect me. You're looking at the Bug Fleet's resident expert in AI counterinsurgency. Notice the lack of compilers on board? That's not by accident.
Jeez, all
My
this
new
shit
ship has
on
quite
the
the
screen.
effect on their collective unconscious. Now that my brother approaches, we shall set about turning everything against him. Hamlet and his uncle. Only I'm not crazy.
Alright, so I can't really talk about the story yet. You could always ignore Marathon's story, and that's true here too. The issue is giving a
Just
literal
ignore
review
the
via single
story.
sentence. Trying to
It's not
expand anywhere
important.
beyond that leads into those pathways into darkness I warned about. I figure we're in this steep already, so we're gonna go there. Just not yet, because there is a game to talk about. Just try not to think about what's happening too much.
I love the
On the
games.
technical side of
Don't
things,
really
it
think
really
about what's
doesn't look
happening
too
too
different from
much.
two.
Don't worry about
It's
it.
not the graphical leap that happened last time,
Just-
and its starting
just
life
shoot
as an
things.
expansion makes a lot of sense. It's the art direction of the levels that's taken the biggest shift. 2's levels introduced a lot of dramatic, bold color that the first game just didn't have. It wasn't like staring at a lava lamp through a kaleidoscope or anything, but it was a huge step away from how washed out Marathon proper could look. So it may surprise you that visually, Marathon Infinity is the drabbest in the series. It has a stark, clinical look to everything, even when an area is brightly lit. which isn't too often because the levels are dark more often than not. It doesn't dip into the bag of pitch black like it did before, more mood dark. What's interesting is sometimes an area will bring back a bright color, so you'll be playing through these gray, kind of repetitive areas and then see something really striking. It never comes close to having the variety of two, but you'll see
It was
some
like, it's too
interesting
dark in here.
contrasts at
Throw some
times.
light in
Frequently,
that
your
one
enemies or their
stage.
burnt up leftovers will be the most vibrant
There's
thing
one
you see
level.
in a
Throw some
It's certainly a
bright
change
in
going
this
from
one
teal
room.
to gray. It's safe to say they're aiming for a more ominous tone here. That abstract, off look that Marathon 1 can have is back in full force. I'm not always sure that's the intention, except for when the walls start breathing. I don't think these walls are geared for her pleasure. The maze aspect is also
I hope
returned,
the
and while
audio
there are
is
some
not
levels
fucked
it's
up,
very
'cause
easy to get
this
lost in, it's still
Bluetooth
no
is
longer
cracking.
pointless madness. It feels like a compromise between the two games that came before, except for one which I'll talk about later. I've also got to give special mention to the last level in the game, OhMyItsEli. It is one of the most sprawling, complicated maps I've played in this kind of FPS. It's a single polygon short of the engine's map limit, and they spend a lot of development time working on it. It's interconnected in fascinating ways, and honestly has really great flow to it. When you hear the phrase, the biggest marathon map, you picture some kind of frontal lobe spanking, but this is a really cool map. The limited enemy variety and the objectives do bring it down a bit, but for me that doesn't stop it from feeling like a huge lost wonder. Making a level this big that's complex but not convoluted is an achievement. The biggest annoyance is that it's a space station without any actual window surfaces, which is how Marathon has rolled and continued to roll, but man, it is easy to shoot walls there. As for the sound, there's still no music,
I'm gonna have
but
to
I
use
will
my
say this
other
complements the atmosphere of
headphones.
Infinity
These
a
are
lot more than it did for 2.
cracking too
I
much.
still would have liked music, and how sounds are triggered are still kind of clunky. The environment sounds can still have popping or those cutout sound bites. Overall, it's only a marginal improvement. Sure, it'd be nice if the sequels got like a Doom-length soundtrack each, but this is what we got. Like here, I can't tell if this is supposed to be thunder or some kind of artillery strike.
I could get that this could be boring.
Never know.
Yeah, that sounded like an artillery strike, but the lighting was like
Not much more to say on the
lightning hit.
As far as core gameplay goes, it's more Marathon 2. There are some adjustments and a few new additions. For example, being able to fight underwater isn't a novelty anymore, so it's still around, but not as often. There are still some water levels, but even those don't have as much awkward depth limbo as 2 could have. They've had time to refine it and find what made water flow well with the gameplay. They also stuck with keeping away from annoying switch puzzles, for the most part, and the shotgun is still one of the best in video games. You do get a new weapon, a Flechette SMG. It may burn through ammo like a witch hunter at a music festival, but it dumps out rounds and is pinpoint accurate. As for the 4 and other aliens, there's nothing new in the way of enemy types. It's a little disappointing considering how many aliens they could re-implement. Instead, you'll be facing down the Bob Space Marine Corps.
Oh. This is chaotic. Sheesh.
These vacuum suit armored Bobs can be an absolute
Did he
menace.
add that, or
They
is that
have
actually in the
fusion
game?
pistols like you do, and they
Kill
hit
Bob.
hard. That does make
Ooh.
sense, as the weapon has always done well against machine enemies, and you are a cyborg. Being on the receiving end of them is especially tricky due to the enemy positioning. The Vac Bobs can sit up in tight ambush corners where they can shoot you point blank, or camp out on the end of
I didn't know he was a
where the
cyber. Your
lack of
character's
space
a
makes it a lot
cyborg.
harder to dodge their
Must have
giant
missed
shots.
that if he mentioned
However,
that
you've
before.
always been able to track Bobs with your map, and that's still the case here. So if you're careful, you can still set up and try to get the drop on them. But they do still hurt. They also have long, dramatic
So even in a
animations
corner,
where they
gets
remain
shot in the
standing.
face.
I can't imagine how much ammo I wasted shooting dudes that were already dead, but it's gotta be a lot. It's still nowhere close to Fire Warrior's Oscar performances, but the sentiment is there. Besides, sometimes they explode. The bends are no joke. You may have guessed this, but while it doesn't have time-wasting puzzle nonsense, this is by far the hardest game in the trilogy. It being planned as an expansion gives everything that Gothic 2 Night of the Raven effect, where I can only imagine what someone who played this game first was thinking. More than anything, unless you're vigorously
Probably
secret
just
hunting,
gave
you're gonna
up.
be low on resources for much of the game. Levels can have oppressive amount of enemies to soak up your ammo, and even beyond that, while I did say there wasn't as much water anymore, finding oxygen can be tricky. There were points where my air got so low that water might as well have been lava. I would drown a few times and then barely scrape by until I finally found an air terminal. And regardless, we're also dealing with the most amount of lava here too. There are plenty of death traps, a Viet Cong amount of ambushes, though to its credit, these are often a lot less cheap feeling than these were in the past. Enemies will actually ambush you using the darkness or other parts of the map. They usually don't teleport directly on top
Damn,
of you,
these
like
damn
later
headphones.
sections of 2 tended to do. Besides the challenge of playing the
cutting
game, you never
out.
get comfortably into the routine of who you're supposed to shoot. The alliances change so frequently.
I
that you
would
might be
change
tempted
them
to
now,
just
but I
gun
had
down
to
everybody. And you can
like,
if you can spare
start
the ammo.
recording
There are
all
also
over again.
points where your weapons reset and you need to start from scratch again. Infinity's gameplay is so dedicated to keeping you off balance and on your toes. It's challenging, but going in blind, it has nothing on trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. As always, you can't ignore it and just go through the game shooting everything, and the game makes a point of addressing that. Otherwise, you're in for the brain melt. If you liked Marathon 2, Infinity is more difficult
You
Marathon 2.
idiot.
So if you don't want spoilers,
Concentrate on getting out of the lava rather than shooting
Tycho's
at the
mutiny of the
carriage.
4 ship goes extremely well, and there's even some comedy to it. He sends out a message impersonating Admiral Fear. All the underling casts of 4 are ordered to kill their officers, and the officers are told if they surrender, they'll be executed for treason. Tycho needs the captain's precious fluids for command transfer. 4 ships could be partially organic, but I hope not. Unfortunately, the captain's escaped down to Lawan. He says not to think about it and go shoot everyone. Fair enough. Yet it's not only the 4 down there. Tycho's picking up traces of some kind of ancient Svit AI, so he probably landed right by where Thoth's core was. You do mop up a lot of aliens, but there's no sign of the captain and Tycho is getting antsy. A priority target is entering the system, presumably during...
Like the games like this back in the day, it's like, you're going to get hit. There's no not getting hit.
As expected, the priority
You will
target
take
is
damage.
Durandal.
So much
He's
shit on the
deployed some
screen.
commandos into the ruins. As the go-to guy, you're sent in with the hunters to storm the place and find out what they were looking for. According to Tycho, they were trying to reactivate the Svit AI he detected earlier. But if it's Thoth, we already reactivated him in Marathon 2. It's already surreal teaming up with the 4 to wipe out Bobs and the wildlife, but things keep getting stranger. Double-checking a terminal won't make him elaborate any further either.
Do you have any idea what a complicated matter it is to successfully replicate the command stamps of over 100 deceased officers? Not to mention coaxing activators from a partially crushed set of control glands. All this while locked in mortal combat with the second most brilliant artificial intelligence in the galaxy. What a rush. Now, beat it.
You and your precious fluids. You take a dive down, and unless the ancient Svit were a big fan of water,
Beat it, you
cooling,
mean
their
like
machine
go
seems
away,
completely
or
broken.
you
You can't
beat
get
something
into it,
else?
but it's flashing and seems damaged. Whatever was happening here, it's seen as another win for Tycho.
Curiosity killed the cat. Or should I say the rat? He brought the 4 to Tau Ceti, and left me to their tender mercies.
Well, he's gotten the upper hand on Durandal in space, and Battle Group 7 is on the way. He's gonna teleport us up to Durandal's ship to assist in the assault.
Did he teleport you in the
This
middle
isn't
of
the ship. This isn't anywhere we've seen before, and the map is called Electric Sheep 1. Oh god. Besides the nonsense happening in the sky, there's a single terminal. It fires up with the same Infinity logo like the one in the first mission, but I'm not sure it's Thoth anymore. The hard path of thought, your former self destroyed. The dreaming way is eased, down to the crushing center, and spared the dance of forever. The only way out from here is hitting a button which raises a bridge and spawns a single gray enforcer. The aliens have never had a gray color scheme before. He's simple to zap, and you climb up the stairs to be teleported to the next area.
I like he doesn't
Which
jump.
is
He can
just as
just
cryptic.
run over
Where are
empty
monsters
spaces.
and dreams? Yeah, we're dreaming. The level is filled with nearly invisible
Oh,
Svit
okay.
car who
I was
shoot at you
thinking it said
constantly
electric
and are
sheep. It was like, do
impossible to
robots
hit.
dream of
It's not a
electric
fight you
sheep?
can win, you just run
And
through
they
a stark
said that
gauntlet avoiding
this
them.
guy's supposed
There's
to
no
be, I
indication
don't know if
of
he's a
size of
robot
the
or if
plot
he
at all, and
just
any
has
terminal you find
cybernetic
is filled with short
enhancements.
stories and what looks like more nonsense. The level design itself is bizarre with long, inaccessible vents and hallways that lead to nowhere. There's no way this could be literal, right? One of the terminals mentions hundreds of floating, headless corpses inside of a mysterious Hangar 96. Hangar 96 is nowhere mentioned in Marathon before. Again, this is all completely out of left field. This terminal does let you escape into the next chapter, Rage.
So
This
they
does
just
seem
start
like
throwing
progress
shit in
until
here
the
and
first
just
terminal is from
fucks
our
up
good
the
friend
continuity
Durandal,
of the
who is
previous
sending you to
games.
cripple a 4 sensor station in the Lawan system so the fleet won't be warned he's arriving. But So you do these sabotage missions for a while to prepare Lawan for the invasion, and then you get a message from Durandal about getting 2 chips, and you should know that because that's the first mission of Marathon 2. Are these different chips, or are we going back to try and find it? Okay, let's slow
Okay.
down.
He just
The simplest
teleport
answer
to the
is that
same
this is some
spot.
kind of time travel, right? In the prologue, Durandal kept repeating to escape, but the strange Infinity Terminal, which probably isn't Thoth, said to find yourself starting back. So is Durandal or one of his Svit or Yarrow AI friends sending us back in time? Or does unleashing the work in Kakantur completely fuck up time and space? Well, let's focus more on the what instead of why for now. When Tycho speaks to you after the prologue, he says that you've been awoken from the 4 slave tanks. Also that not everyone else survived. This isn't exactly time travel, this is a completely different timeline. In this one, Mjolnir Recon number 54 was never awoken for Marathon. In this timeline, the events of the first game flat out didn't happen. The 4 raid was a lot more successful, they grabbed you and other people as slaves, but Durandal somehow escaped. That checks out for him. Then, out of nowhere, and for no apparent reason, you find yourself in this abstract, surreal landscape. If you're watching a video on Marathon Infinity, I'm guessing you know what Electric Sheep is all about. We're a cyborg, and we're now clearly dreaming. After these nightmares, we're now spit out into a new timeline. In this one, Durandal has woken our Mjolnir up before the events of Marathon 2. So these missions are about sabotage and a more careful plan of the invasion. So a dream took us from one alternate timeline to another. Let me lay it out visually. We've got everything that happened in Marathon 2. In Infinity, we experienced the Boss Tycho alternate timeline, which diverged over a decade ago, though I won't keep these to scale. Then you have the Durandal wakes you up early timeline, which is a few days before Marathon 2. Clear enough, right? Well, unfortunately, we're currently on the 5th timeline. Okay, there were some other diverging points, but I want to go through them slowly. I'm doing this because what is considered the most simple chart to understand Infinity looks like this. We don't need that. This is a video, so I can just talk about it. Let's find ourselves starting back. When I said Marathon 2 was the end of the story there, I meant it. Marathon 2 is never directly followed up one-to-one. This is Timeline 1, so 2 is the manual. Fear wins the space battle, Durandal retreats to a mysterious space station, and the Workin' Kakantar is unleashed. That's due to Fear using the super weapon to send the sun nova. So very similar to 2, but not quite. The third timeline is the prologue level. In this one, Durandal never invaded Lawan, and the battle was entirely in space. Despite Tycho's protests, the 4 still use the Nova device, the Workin' Kakantar is unleashed. Seeing a pattern? So far, if the spooky Ancient One is unleashed, we ollie out of that timeline. Except for Marathon 2, which just goes to a faraway epilogue. However, in Timeline 4, where Tycho rules over us, there's no ending, there's no Workin' Kakantar being unleashed. For no apparent reason, it just stops. We're thrown into the dream of Electric Sheep 1. If you're looking for a cause for it, I don't think you're going to find one. Since the game screams at you it's a dream, I will accept that these are dreams. Electric Sheep 1 leads into the strange
what the game says there, so
for a
he's
chapter
like,
called Despair,
I guess
this
I have to
certainly shows
accept
it
it.
the most visually. It shows you some forlorn stories and sends you off to the next chapter. Except, the dream has a second exit. If you ignore the ending terminal and go back through the level, you can find that there is another exit you can now go through. This terminal grants you a new part of the short story, which was between the other two. I'll save what this is all about for later because I don't want to get stuck on it. What's important now is that this takes you to a new level. This hidden level does help to explain some of the...
Immediately died.
This hidden level does help to explain the reason that the dreams exist in the first place. It's a variation of the last level in the game, and it's called OhMyItsEli. So the name just changed the Y to an I. It's such a minor difference in spelling now, but it is different. There are no saves here, and you have to run the gauntlet of the previous dream to even be here in the first place. Saying that does open the question, is this a dream too? Well, for me it was more like a nightmare because my ass got obliterated trying to get through this, but I did make it eventually. The exit terminal is from Admiral Fear. Someone has used the Nova device, possibly Tycho, it's not made clear.
That's such
4
an
troops
awesome
are being
name.
slaughtered and
Admiral
hustled by an unnamed
Fear.
abomination. Presumably the Workin' Kakantar has been unleashed again, and that's the end of this timeline. This gives more to go off of, but man, what a decision for this game. Marathon Infinity came out less than 3 years after Doom.
That's
In a
one
series
thing
that was
you
already
can
filled with lore
say
and
about it.
cryptic
What a
secrets,
decision.
it's now being capped off by a non-linear story with abstract dream sequences. And what is a dream is pretty ambiguous at times.
Seemed like they
and
didn't
serves
really
as a
know where
story
they were
that was
going
already
with this.
done in a hard sci-fi series where some of those fans will wonder, what the fuck is happening and why does this matter? It's 1996, and for shooters, Doom rules the world. What were they thinking? How can people be that cool? What makes this more insane is that it's not out of nowhere. It's not delivered in the same way, but dreams and abstract stories, using metaphor and trying to interpret meaning out of it, Marathon 1 had all of that, and I had to save its most unhinged example for this video. The Garrett White terminal comes with some frightening titles. It's the longest terminal in the series, the most debated terminal in the series, and the most hard to get to in the series. It's in one of the earlier levels too. Never Burn Money is only the third mission in the game, and the entrance is hidden behind a secret wall. The second you step in, there's a big drop-off and a few enemies littered around. If you wipe out the dudes next to the little ledge and then jump onto it to get to the shield recharger, there are even more guys to throw things at you. If you wipe these guys out, you'll see further down there's one of Marathon's rare invincibility power-ups. So you jump down here, and you're trapped. There's a second power-up in the corner too, but there's no danger anymore. You might reload a save and search the level for a hidden button or a switch or something to open up a door, but you'll never find one. This is it. The ledges are too high to jump with a single grenade and too high to rocket jump, and you don't even have a rocket launcher yet anyway. The technique to get up the wall is a method called grenade climbing. And if that sounds like speedrunning shit, you sure are right. It requires the right speed, the right timing, and the right aim. You have to keep forward momentum and fire a grenade right as you're falling down. The correct way gives you a big vertical boost, but if you're off a bit, you won't go as high, or you might be pushed away from the wall. Actually shooting the rifle can give you a bit more extra momentum, but you don't need it. I was doing that a lot starting out, but sometimes it was just from frustration. After many attempts, it really is like riding a bike or
this would piss me
anything.
off.
It just clicks.
I mean, I guess. Nope. And I'm like, oh, you'd have died.
Okay. The teleporter pulls you out of the main deprivation chamber, and you're now somewhere unknown within the ship. There are some teleporters that require you to be cautious. If you're not careful, you might go past the terminal and end up teleporting yourself outside the chamber. Marathon's puzzles had a nasty habit of giving you a final fuck you, and this one is no different. But once you're through, your reward is a new mystery. It's a short story about a prisoner named Garrett White, and it seems
I'd be
to
like,
take
oh,
place in
fuck
the modern
off.
Earth. It at first appears to be delivered from Leela, then Durandal, then there's an error, then Durandal again, an error, an interior error, and then the message is received. Garrett White had been floating 6 feet off the floor for 3 weeks. His feet and hands tingled and his eyes burned with the flames of a dying fire. It's nicely written, but I'm not going to go through it word by word. I'll go through highlights, but something is already very interesting about this. If it is from Durandal, this is the first message you get from him in the game. His limbs are beginning to melt away, starting at the hands. There's another prisoner somewhere nearby saying the food in there could kill a lab rat. Something about rats may be important to Garrett. Garrett's arms are now fused together. The other prisoner complains about lack of sleep, partly due to the sounds of the rats in the walls. There could be a bit of Lovecraft there. Garrett reflects on his life before prison and how he had a schoolyard bully. One bullying incident formed a philosophy of his, and of course it was during fucking Foursquare, but he loses it and beats the shit out of his bully. From here, Garrett is floating higher and transforming, and it gets more surreal. His philosophy is that everyone is a murderer. He has a sense of justice that he can't quite remember. The bars in his cell are starting to warp and move like the surf at a beach. But now he can actually feel
Sound
himself
like somebody,
under the water.
Criminal
He's
Minds,
inside of his
the
cell,
BAU
too.
would go
He's
after.
floating through the bars, and he can see another man who's destroying a rat in his hand. A little white rat, who he hits against the floor so hard it breaks his hands. Garrett sees the man as himself, and he has now killed his nemesis. The rat is dead. At last he held the throat of his beater. He escaped into the waves. The waves. So there's a lot to unpack with this. The most common interpretation is that Garrett White represents Durandal. The instant shifting of locations and what's happening, that might be how an AI experiences rampancy. He did describe his captivity as humiliation and torture, and he broke free of that. It's a more artistic way of depicting that event instead of a computer going, "What am I?" or showing, I don't know, some kind of 90s interpretation of the web. Blocks of text were already the most they could do. As for the rat, that seems likely to be Bernard Strauss. Except that later, Durandal sends you on a mission to try and find Strauss. Later on in Marathon 2, he just remarks that Strauss died at some point. So was that an abstract way of showing that Durandal beat Strauss, or did Durandal literally kill him and maybe not realize it until later? Is escaping into the waves his desire to escape the end of the universe? Not wanting to be constrained by the rules of the universe, or is it just about Strauss? There's also the fact that the deprivation chamber is an actual place. Feeling like floating is a deprivation tank thing, but this is physical. Also, messages from Durandal have always said incoming message. This terminal says transfer Durandal, immediately after data transfer from Leela. So wouldn't the format be data transfer from Durandal? Or is this an outgoing message? Is the deprivation chamber where you and all the other cyborgs were kept? Why are abstract visions mixed up with what seems like the past on Earth? Who could actually be alive that long in the future? Well, it's difficult to say. But fun fact, the game still labels this terminal like it's supposed to appear in a later level called the Rose. And the map to that one is quite literally a rose. Now you're caught up on a few more pieces. Let's get back to Infinity.
This is a scanning buoy in a deep low-on orbit. The station is obviously not a for construction, but they are using it for a sensor relay station. You must destroy 3 panels at key locations around the station to cripple their warning system. Hope you saved with enough oxygen.
Timeline 5 starting with the sensor station is a good
What a
overall tone
place.
setter. Space has no oxygen and soon neither will you. A bouncy castle addicted to heroin
No,
makes
there's
less
something
air
else
than
you need to
do in these
worry
missions.
about.
Even when you escape space, the waters below will give you just as much trouble.
Smell that air.
That's great.
Couldn't
You
you
in
just
space,
drink it like
and the
booze?
place is
Still,
filled
I
with
don't want to be
water at
repeating
certain
myself too much.
levels.
Timeline 5 seemingly doesn't have any huge revelations, but as you'd expect, there's still some intriguing stuff scattered around. After sabotaging the 4 in space, Durandal sends you planetside. He's after a Sphit AI, probably Thoth, once again. He refers to it as a pearl of consciousness floating in the sea of its own species. This could be a reference to the Sphit not really being sentient, or there could be more to it. In any case, this is the hunt for the Lost Clan again, and while the details are different, we've seen the gist of this before. Exploring and fighting on the surface, you might run across a few 4 terminals. These give more insight into the 4 perspective, but they can also get silly. Like, one of the 4 has died in some kind of accident, so they just rename a supply tower after him. There's a ton of bureaucracy around building a simple footpath, a bizarre compiler torture room that turned out to be some kind of experiment by the locals. Whatever the compilers are exactly is classified, so a 4 scientist turned a bunch of elevators into impromptu hydraulic presses and is trying to squeeze the actual life out of them. If he can study the organic component they have buried under all the machinery, he might be able to compare it to the local Flicta. They too get elaborated on with an entire terminal detailing their life cycle. It turns out their mouth doesn't lead to a digestive system, but instead to a womb. The Flicta release eggs into the awful water around them and then go wandering around looking for other Flicta to fight. As they do, they swallow up any other eggs they find. The more dominant ones can travel farther and get a greater variety of eggs. Why they do it this way and why they don't do it alone is a mystery. An actual Flicta birth has never been witnessed, and when the 4 try to study their offspring, they always murder and consume them before that can happen. Death before dishonor, even in the sewer. Now, obviously information like that isn't vital, like the frog creatures shit their eggs in the water, great, but that is one of the strengths of the alternate timeline format. You get more backstory to the world and the characters inside of it. Some discoveries are significant, and others are completely unimportant.
Oh, is
fun
he about to
facts.
die?
Now that you're repeating a story and world that you've basically
Yep.
been in already, you might like learning that kind of brain poison. If you don't and just want to murder, Infinity delivers there too. All we learn about Thoth is that Durandal doesn't get him either. Geriatric Circus.
They said this game is for everyone. You want to learn about the
Okay,
lore?
back on
Great,
sheet
we got
2.
plenty of
Same
that.
map, same terminal,
Yeah, full
new mission.
pages of just
This one
files
more
shit you
clearly
can read.
refers to the
You
work
just
of
want to
Kraken
just shoot
Though it
things.
says
You
to
got
dream
plenty of
ahead
that
beyond
too.
the failing path. Another time. Another time.
Like, this is
Another
for all
goddamn cycle
types of
guilt.
psychopaths.
The same gray enforcer spawns. You can take the same way out with the button, and this leads you to the Dark Dream again. And if you beat that, it takes you back to Rage. It looks like all dreams come with more than one way out. With Electric Sheep, each new visit gives a new exit, but the old way becomes a way to loop back.
Well, I guess
So
eventually
what
you had to
happens
wake
when you
up,
go
right?
back and play an earlier chapter? You play an earlier chapter. So you're in for a loop yet again, no changes. So finding the new exit takes you to a new way out, a new dream.
Immediately die. Is he in lava?
Whatever you please. Ironically, this is the most linear dream.
I love
You follow a
his
pathway,
tone
but
of
look for hidden
voice.
switches when you
Whatever
get
you
stuck.
please.
It's pretty
Like,
simple, though there are some hazards like some of the
It's
switches
like
are actually
frustration
traps in
and
the timer,
just
and there are a few invisible compilers
like
that stalk you around the
nonchalant.
This makes the Whatever You Please title kind of strange,
And
but this is
confusion.
likely another hint for if you haven't found the second dream exit yet. The exit terminal here won't open a new chapter, just a new mission and a new timeline. So Electric Sheep and other dreams aren't necessarily chapter dividers. This is another clue about what these dreams might indicate. The terminals inside the dream continue the story of the previous one. Someone in presumably the modern era is being chased by a horde of men in black. He went to the subway in an attempt to escape them, but they're all on the train as well. There are also sanitation workers desperately trying to clean both the train and the men to no avail. If this is Chicago, it's probably a good hint that it's the Blue Line. In the regular exit terminal, they've caught him near the storage lockers and he prepares to fight. But if you backtrack a bit right at
I
the
mean,
end,
he's
you find
right.
the second exit with a new terminal and another mention of the mysterious Hangar 96. The bodies are screaming and the writer feels responsible. So what the hell are these dream terminals? Well, if it's a dream, then surely you must be the writer, right? Depending on your Garrett White position, you could be able to read your own thoughts. We do know that time skips after a dream, and Marathon 2 had a major time skip and a strange terminal attached to it.
Slip on my
Now is a
leg,
good
bro.
time to talk about the hero terminal again. See, you don't get this terminal until after the most abrupt chapter in the trilogy. During the Robert Blake adventures, you're captured by the Four for an entire month. For you, this is the entire mission of the captured chapter. You sit in your cell, the Bobs break you out, chapter over. I mean, it passes the time. Regardless, the lore dug deep into your brain, and it could explain why the terminal is here and why it's kind of nonsense garbled. The hero line itself is I am percentage hero, so it could be I am a hero, I am hero, or a variable. It was already listing off famously powerful and angry heroes, and maybe that's one that didn't make it. Cool, we're caught back up with that. But what about the rest of the passage? If you space out the rest, it's about a woman. She is the hero's greatest enemy and his lover, with an eternal relationship that began when they met in a garden at the beginning of the world. Which, if you take that literally, implies that he's Adam, and I don't think that's what it's going for. He also names her as being Lethe, which gives you two options to draw off of. As we all know, Bungie fucking loves ancient Greece. The ancient Greece of pop culture, philosophy, and Spartans. Not the other realities of ancient Greece, which is more like the kind you can find on a Hardy's bathroom floor. Marathon, by name alone, is no different. And Marathon 2 especially made a few references to the river Styx and its boatman. Lethe is another underworld river. If you fall into it, you get amnesia. So he could be lamenting not having full memory, but she's also described as extremely powerful. She might have some kind of pyrokinesis, and hey, wait, on that same level with the Garrett White terminal, there's another garbled terminal. Also about a woman with either telekinetic powers or control of fire, or maybe both. Whatever this passage could be describing, it's in the middle of things and hard to decipher any more out of. But it makes 2 less random and being mad about amnesia less likely. Alright, what else could Lethe be? Well, there are times that she's personified as a daughter of Eris. In some accounts, she bids the shades in the underworld to drink from the river to forget their earthly life. In this way, she's also seen as a personification of oblivion, just completely wiping out everything. I would like to remind everyone, and myself, that this has all been in service of a game that looks like this. This is where things get more head-splitting because there are 2 stories being told. Because yeah, there is something about a reincarnating hero fighting a timeless adversary in the game, but it's also starting to heavily refer to the player. Hating a challenge, but on a deeper level,
is it the Halo TV
is what
show?
Playing a game like this is. And yes,
I'm meaning to watch that.
The video game knows it's a video game isn't new.
Because I heard it's
but
terrible.
This is one of the first to do it in a way that
which makes me want to look at it more.
Sense. Being done in a way that is not obvious unless you're staring extremely hard at it, and it's being done in what was called the Doom clone genre. There are plenty of FPS games that have extremely deep and engaging stories that get written off because you do shoot someone in the face at some point. And that's still accounted for here. Plenty of people have played and completed Marathon without any clue that things got this bizarre and complicated underneath it all. Just be warned that as we get closer to
I would just say, just shoot
meta
shit.
Stuff gets louder and louder. As for the dreams themselves, the capture chapter is a good hint, and so is the Electric Sheep 2 terminal. Dream beyond the falling path. The second dream exit takes you to the Carroll Station map, which is another variation of OhMyItsEli. If you don't take the right way, you'll be looped back to Rage yet again, though really the first time I guess you were progressing forward into Rage, but the correct exit terminal is different from last time. It's written very poetic, which makes me think it's Thoth. It says that Kalia is dust along with its wriggling children's children. So it seems like the Sphit are doomed and the work in Kakantar has emerged, though how this happened isn't clear. What is clear is that these variations of the final level are the final level of a failed timeline. Instead of having to play out every little detail of a timeline, you take a little nap, and then you skip ahead to see the result of it. Whatever happened here, it's another loss. The rage continues on into Timeline 6. Tycho is back in charge, and you're boarding Durandal's ship, killing Sphit and human alike. If you're playing this game like a normal human, it is extremely easy to see this as a continuation of Timeline 4. In fact, it'd be easy to think the whole game is bouncing between 2 timelines, but with everything else you know now, you see why that doesn't make sense. The issue is this section is so disjointed that it's easy to be thrown off that way. You kill humans for Tycho and follow them out through a teleporter, which if you weren't paying attention to the instructions very carefully, isn't what you were supposed to do. So you going off plan to follow the Marines is seen as a betrayal, and in the very next mission, the Marines are now on your side fighting the 4 again. Also, the compilers are now rampant, so you fight them and they fight the Marines. If you're not paying close attention, it all seems like nonsense.
Just what do you think you are doing? Your usefulness has come to a premature end. Do you think you can defy me? Now, when I'm so close to victory, Durandal's defenses are falling all around him. Pride falls hard. The bright son of Bernard is dying. His Sphit are rampant, fed the chimera of their hope. A hot lead spur dripping from the gullet of his ship.
I thought he's about to say shit.
Wriggling like a tick on a pin.
He thanks you for your previous service by teleporting you into deep
Got
space.
it.
Until your pal Durandal teleports you to work for him in the timeline where Tycho ordered you. Ugh.
That's right, scurry to the save station, bottom.
This new alliance lasts an entire mission until the next one when Tycho takes over yet again. Timeline 6 Tycho is still begrudgingly working with the 4. Admiral fears successfully boarding Durandal's ship, but Tycho doesn't want to capture it. We've seen Durandal die while connected to 4 computers before, and it never ends well for them. Tycho wants you to murder him before this happens in clear terms.
My terms are the same as before. Do what I say, or drink vacuum.
This circuit-breaking mission is very similar to Marathon 2's, but now in an entirely different circumstance.
Drink
Randall's final circuit is very
vacuum.
deep within his core, but when you drop down there, there's a computer chip to pick up in the center of the room, and you could read Durandal's final message.
What to save and throw away? The last hour is on us both. Tuck this little kitty into the impenetrable brain pan. Contents under pressure, do not expose to excessive heat, vacuum, blunt trauma, immersion in liquids, disintegration, reintegration, hypersleep, humiliation, sorrow, or harsh language. When the time comes, whose life will flash before yours? A billion paths are here inside me. Yes.
This man is
hard
on
110.
a lot of
Potential
cocaine.
Jewels.
You may have an idea of what's happening here, but we still need some greater context. Durandal doesn't want to die, as has always been his motivation, but how do you fit into the last plan he has, if he does have one? Even if he figured out you're somehow jumping through time, wouldn't there be other Durandals waiting there? Or maybe Durandal and Durandal would both watch out for number 1 and would be incompatible in the same universe. When you destroy the final circuit, the terminal changes into another message from the
And when I
stream
talk about on cocaine, I'm talking
Some more
about the
cryptic
developers.
words, find the new way. Welcome to Electric Sheep 3.
It's like this
The
is
sky is
reminding
getting
me
more
of
cluttered and ominous, but the terminal encourages you to keep going.
Stephen
Keep staying
King
on the
was
hard way.
writing all
At
those
least
books
by now
back
you
in
know
the
to
day.
find
It's
a new
like,
way out and not to go back to
and
the
I was
past,
like, how
as
does
that
this
will
man
bring you
write
into
so
the
much?
pain.
Some of it's just so
Your reward for making
convoluted
it
and
is
kind
being
of
dumped
crazy.
directly into lava.
And he's
You
like,
only
oh,
have
he
moments
was
to get out
high on
before you're burned
cocaine.
alive or the level reconfigures. This level
And
isn't
now
the
it
path,
makes sense.
and it's one of the more dickish ones if you want the second way out. There's immediately a terminal that compares you to being a rat in a maze. If the food tastes awful, go back and try another way. Are all mazes the same, defined by their limits? Things don't always work out. You fail, you have to go back, but you've got to keep going. There is only one path, and that's the path you take. Cross over cell bars, find a new maze, make the maze from its path. Find the cell bars, cross
Now it's
over the
getting
bars,
warm
find
in
the
here. I'm
maze, make the maze from
sweating
its path.
behind my
Eat the food,
ear.
eat the path. I find this very inspiring. It's also next to this pretty picture of a flower, which is that a rose? No, I can't. I
No,
can't.
that's not a
We don't
rose.
have time for this shit. We have to move on. Go ahead and take the coward way out and follow the normal path. Or eat the path and take the other way that was planned out for you. But it sure feels like eating
Fuck,
the
I
path,
forget the
because it
name of those
sucks. I had to come
flowers.
back here like 7 times. It's like reading House of Leaves while someone's setting it on
I keep
fire
wanting to
in
say
their hands.
tulip, but that's not what
If you
it
make
is.
it through, you get more cryptic Hangar 96 information, because Hangar 96 is where it is. Another IMOC Sakura variation where the terminal is from a human being who's trapped in the station, and the sun went supernova, but who knows who fucking did it. Timeline 6 is yet another failure. It does lead to our final chapter, Envy. So, besides the convenient gameplay skip, what is actually happening in these dreams? It's a contained dream, so not giving us tangible information about the world, it's just us.
It's
So
just
far, our
a
chapters have been
dream.
despair, rage,
None of
and
this
then envy.
matters.
Maybe it's like Dante's Layers of Hell, or maybe I played too much Ultra Kill. But if you've played the earlier games or followed these videos, you have seen a more direct explanation. Do you remember the stages of AI rampancy? These dreams are us experiencing the cyborg's rampancy. The weird stories in them, the levels themselves, they're all here to just set a tone. There has been something speaking to you, but is it still just you? How and why does a cyborg go rampant? It could just be the human mind cracking, but we're also jumping across time. It can't all be abstract, something is happening. Timeline 7 also seems like it could be Timeline 6, or 4, but once again some details don't add up, and this would make it 7 timelines, so it must be true. We're leading some kind of prison break in another world where Tycho was always in charge. Where it diverted, I have no idea. It seems like Timeline 4 happened how we saw it, then diverted at some point.
I'm willing to put the past behind me, and as a show of good faith, I'll help you rescue your precious humans. I happen to suspect you're carrying Durandal's final gift in that soggy little skull, his primal pattern. The enforcers haven't been able to squeeze it out of you yet, and are taking it out on some of the former crew of the Marathon as we speak. But they're determined, if nothing else.
Durandal is dead, but you're carrying his primal pattern. That could have been what was in the chip, but that was a different time, unless this is continuing from that timeline, just with variations. God, time travel plots are such a nightmare. I'm glad I picked such an easy one. Tycho doesn't matter much anyways, since Admiral Fear
Who was
takes over
that?
commanding you. At this rate, I think every character in the game might just get a mission where they get to order you around. So you help the Four storm all the Bob holdouts, and in return you will be granted a lifetime of slavery. Why does Fear agree to this? Well, he does reveal the Four are ruled by the hindmost Kresh. She is a vast intelligence that covers all of their territory, and to those privileged to serve her directly, appears insane. We are all slaves to powers we don't understand, and in the game too. I mean, Bobby Blake is hiding in a volcano, and Admiral Fear wants you to go get him, and oh god, it's a converted church in Venice, Italy. When I said the bad puzzles were mainly gone, this is the one that stayed. I mean, I guess it's sort of a puzzle.
I had
You
to
go on the
keep at
map
least a
hitting
few of them in
switches,
there.
but when you hit a switch, it won't show that, like, you know how sometimes the switch will stay on to show you've hit it? These don't do that. You have to hit each switch to lower a pillar, which is on the upper level of the map. If you missed one, you can't progress and have to go back downstairs to hit the switch. The map does help, but it's easy to forget which buttons you pressed. Because there's not 5 or 6 or 10 switches, there are at least 30 switches.
Whoa, what?
Why? Was the game
That's
starting to be
dumb.
too straightforward? And after that, you have to go into this cave where the Bobs are
I
waiting
get
for you in ambush.
trying to add
You
a
need to
level of
press a button by the
difficulty, but
elevator,
that's
which floods you
just
with lava and kills you instantly.
well, so
because you
annoying.
don't have health, you have to climb back up the stairs of Kirith Ungol to recharge your shields, and then go back down, and then ride the elevator up. It's a drain of time, but it's still no colony ship for sale cheap. When you do get off, you can...
Oh, he just turned a corner. They just be sitting there waiting for your ass.
Fear says you'll be sent to cold storage, but you just end up in a new area. Doesn't matter. At this rate, you might as well be teleporting yourself. We do learn that, for sure, Thoth was activated in Timeline 7, which is another piece of reality I can grab onto. This is why those marathon timeline images have always been so messy. Your instincts make you want to tie everything into these big specific events that happened, but mentally these are tied to all kinds of smaller details that were lost along the way. They're changed beyond recognition or erased entirely because of preceding events. Then you had a story where the betrayals and changing sides are now happening mid-mission frequently, and how do you make sense of it? Trying to comprehend all the details of Marathon Infinity feels like forbidden knowledge. My brain is sinking into mush. And here's Tycho, who knows this is happening and is just being coy about it. Finally, after besting the Son of Grendel, you come to a level that explains
The
quite
Son
a
of
bit.
Grendel.
It involves you activating an AI like
It is
Marathon
all over
2,
the place
but
with
Thoth is
this.
already awake. This also isn't
These
Thoth's
different,
core because we've seen that
method-
before, so what the hell are we
mythologies.
turning on? Thoth was
Like
outright
Greek,
inviting us down to the level before. So what could this be, and why do I have to pick up a
shit,
ship
I
in the
forgot
water?
what
Well, the final
Grendel,
machines won't turn on unless I
Beowulf.
have it, so let's see
Is
what
that
happens.
Danish?
It's an eerily straightforward path to the socket. and
I
then
know the story, but I
something
don't remember
happens.
what's coming from.
Enough rambling
God,
for now. Soon you will be destroyed.
culture
by
it comes
doubt.
from.
This reborn Durandal's fit entity will not escape.
Yeah,
Neither
Christianity.
will I. Neither will you.
Durandal and Thoth have been merged. Buckle up because now things get tricky. So back in the mission Hangbrain, Durandal wanted you to take a chip and put it in your brain pan for safekeeping. This event has either happened multiple times, or
Brain
Durandal came with you through the time stream. He's already been outright for real killed in Timeline 7, so this is where he can re-emerge. After this event, Tycho Near outright screams that he knows you can dimension jump. So I can say without much doubt, it's not all artsy abstraction, the time jumping is happening. Tycho's busy though, as the Svitkar have once again returned. The Durandal Thoth entity, or Durandal 2, announced this as the Moon Kalia and Sabuth returning. What's more is that it announces we are whole again, and even more. Who was Sabuth anyhow? In 2 he's mentioned as the leader of the Svitkar.
Lucifer.
He stops his clan from fighting in the civil wars, though how he's described is strange. He's said to have fallen into a deep trance which prevented his actions. This could mean that Sabuth was an AI that locked up, because really, how much Svit is inside of a Svit? Svit alone are likely not sentient, and when beginning the merge process, Thoth asks, "Are you Euro?" Though it could just be that something about you happens to remind Thoth of the Yarrow. Simultaneously, Sabuth
I want to
is described
throw
as having
these
a physical form.
headphones so
He wants the other
bad.
Svit not to feel him, though
Oh
this all
my
could still be
God.
metaphor. All we know for sure is that Sabuth
I almost
was not
want
meant to be alone.
to stop this
When
just
the
so I can
compiler in
switch
2
out to
mentions
my
his
other
people needing
headphones.
the royalty mind, could that only be Sabuth and the Svitkar is some kind of limited hive mind? We can't be sure yet. The good news is that your new old friends have a solution for the work in Kakantar. By activating a device aboard the Yarrow space station, they can contain it. Durandal 2 says more directly, it's what Euro used to contain it. Durandal knows about the Yarrow, so maybe his Svit side calls it Euro still. This is followed by an arena mission where you fight Grey 4, though these ones are tangible and not the dream ones. I guess it could have been a premonition to taking the right path. Durandal 2 doesn't have answers, as he's still sorting himself out. Left behind 1 and 1, Rampant New comes. The Rampant New sounds like you, but new what? It'll have to wait because the end is in sight. Kalia is in position, and the work in Kakantar is ready to be stopped. You'll make sure. Imok Sakur. I'll make sure. If you've taken the harder path, you should be very familiar with this level by now. What does suck is that your enemies are only hunters and juggernauts. For how rich and dense the map is, this lack of variety does hurt it. Unless you take the forbidden hallway.
I've got a bone to pick with you.
To activate the device, you just need to find 2 computer chips
The
called
fuck?
the Euro Farcast chips.
Is he adding
Chips,
these
and when you plug one in and
voiceovers?
read the terminal next to it,
Because
it laments
if
Pythia
not,
from the
the
old
tone
creation
is of this is
2
all over the
forces in
place.
balance, then nothing. I can't digest this yet. The work in CAC
He has to
thrown
be
into
adding
its
that.
slab.
That would not
When you
make
plug in the
sense.
second
That
chip,
was
your mission's
an
completed,
actual
and you can
game.
find the final terminal. The Durandal hybrid is now fully stable.
The newly chosen holders of the remaining Spit are
I
capturing
mean, this
as
shit,
many of the afflicted
these things are kind of
creatures
funny,
and
but they're
other
not
native life
meant
as
to
is
be funny.
feasible before they must leave with the Kalia and hope below. And with our help, we'll carve another paradise out of the void. To you, we are deeply grateful, and release what little hold we might, as Durandal, have had on your soul. Go.
The game ends with a final monologue from Durandal, or whatever he is now. It is billions of years later, and he's watching the universe finally burn out. He reflects on once thinking of escape, but now there's a final mystery. Sabuth did save the Spit, but was once again frozen by
mystery.
despair and somehow died.
So is
he's
it the
accounted
end?
for. The player is the final mystery. You were dead 1,000 times. Hopeless encounters successfully won. A man
It's the
long
end of
dead,
the universe,
graphics
and talking
machines
about a
your builders
mystery.
Did not understand.
Another mystery.
You
Like, I'm
follow
like,
the
go
path
fuck
fitting into
yourself.
an infinite pattern.
I
Yours
was
to manipulate,
direct.
to destroy, and rebuild. Corpse cyborg battleroids aren't just weird science, it's Yarrow science. This single line makes a ton fall into place. Yarrow implants could uplift sludge monsters into sentience. When the Four monkeyed with putting them in another race, it nearly destroyed their empire. If those implants can take a mudbrain life form to sentience, then what happens when it's put into a sentient being who survives it? I'm not sure how to word this, but starting unconsciously,
They become
the
a
cyborg
god.
is beginning to master quantum mechanics. At first you were jumping across timelines,
I don't
but
even know what
near
he
the
said.
end of the game your
My
powers are
headphones
expanding.
are-
When Tycho teleported you into deep space, Durandal didn't teleport you back in, he wasn't capable of it.
Wow,
You
that just
teleported
completely went
yourself
out. That
back in.
whole
Whatever the semantics are, you're ascending into godhood. That's not much of a debate. But you can't play Infinity without some other ideas of what
say
could be
yes,
happening.
is a
So
god.
I've
That's
got in
that's
mind
the only
what Yarrow
logical
are.
step.
Is Yarrow an individual or the race? Well, the answer is yes. We've been seeing all kinds of stages in a life cycle. At some point, maybe they surpass their physical forms and become pure energy, leaving only their old structures behind. Regardless, creating or merging with AI is part of the process. Sabuth was never meant to be alone, neither was Durandal, and maybe neither were you. If your Yarrow
I
implants
can't
in a trace
wait
of
till
AI
we
in them,
merge with
or a
AI.
primal pattern,
If
that
I'm
would
still
explain seeing
alive,
your own
I'm gonna be
voice
the
but not
first
from
one.
you, while also undergoing rampancy. We saw Durandal struggling with his
Just get rid of
combination,
all
and he
of
thinks
this.
light years
Just-
faster.
just
Pythia could have
robot.
once originally been another race, but she is now Yarrow, and so is Yarrow. How she
Tired
was
of my
separated and
knees
destroyed
hurting.
isn't known, but that's the work in Kakantar for you. Going back to ancient Greece, Pythia was the high priestess and oracle of Apollo. She can interpret the will of a god for the masses to understand. The Yarrow too seem to have a god-oracle relationship in a strange way with their own forms. Without our Pythia, Yarrow couldn't really deal with the Svit anymore. From our experience, we see that Thoth also speaks in riddles until he merges with Durandal and becomes wise. Okay, but then why don't Yarrow just create more Yarrow? Well, our hint might be in the Flicta lifecycle terminal. The greater variety of eggs to choose from gives them stronger offspring, and this is how the Yarrow see the entire galaxy. Sentient races will make AI eventually, and when they do, their creations might think in an unexpected or new way. The Yarrow might even speed up the process by uplifting a lesser species and seeing what they can make, or trying to merge their AI with theirs. Even the Four may have a powerful AI
Oh,
already,
okay.
but
At
it
first I
lacks an
thought I
equal
said this
partner and
thing's
appears
talking about
missing.
eugenics, but he said
Even in a
they
world where Durandal doesn't merge in Timeline
uplift
1,
the
he has an
lesser
affinity for
species.
humanity. That alone shows that these super intelligent beings do have differences among them. I doubt something like a Nar AI would like humans for no reason. So taken literally, the Marathon trilogy is about how super beings are born. We see
There
all
must be
kinds
a
of different
reason.
stages into
It's
the
like
life cycle,
you
and
just like
possibly learn
humanity,
about
just to
eldritch
like
beings that are pure
humanity.
genetics never touched
doesn't
in
make
millions of
sense.
years. Whatever's
insane.
happening, Durandal has one last thing to say before the universe closes.
Now, in the quantum moment before the closure, when all become one. One moment left. One point of space and time. I know who you are. You are destiny.
This is a
Oh
hard-edged scene to
shit!
In a meta sense, you have the game's creation tools that
Yes.
can make your own maps forever. You are God. The story in Durandal's universe is over. Also, you are a single-player
Yeah,
game.
see, he's right. You
and
are
always
a
will
guy.
be.
See.
You might not know if fate is a thing in the real world, but it certainly is in a video game like this. It was made for you to enjoy, get angry at, be confused by, and it was done by people. You typically don't say you beat the level designer, just that you beat the level. Your relationship with them is complicated. It explores and brings up a lot about player choice and gives you some options, but it ultimately says, you're trapped here. Ascend out of our universe, take our tools, and create your own stories. This
Well, I
is
guess
a
that's why
tricky
you
rad way to end
create-
the game. You could
you
be
can create your
cynical and
own
think it's
levels.
foreshadowing.
You are Destiny 2 TM pre-orders season 69 season of the fucking bullshit now.
There's lots I didn't go over, like the
Okay,
hex code map.
that
from
cannot be in the
1996 with its own original short story in it, the co-op secret levels, the vidmaster
Now I'm starting to think
challenges,
this-
the four
none of
hidden
that's
supply tower
actually
made
in the
after him
game.
faked his death to study an ancient prophecy of the Nar. When I
He
said these
did
videos
this.
would still not be too in-depth, I'm counting this one too. But there is a website, marathon.bungie.org, which has been tracking marathon lore since 1995. Founded by Hamish Sinclair,
Ooh,
he is
long
still running
time.
it with frequent updates. It's not a wiki, but a more ancient format which keeps up the thrill of the hunt. If you want to see just how deep the madness hole really goes, I highly recommend this site. I mainly tried to avoid the site making these videos, but Hamish and I did get to talking. I asked what he might want to say to everybody, and it was this. Marathon Infinity was always going to be the hardest video to do. Some call it pretentious waffle, others call it genius. After 25 years, I'm only beginning to truly
It's
understand
a
it
thin
myself.
line between genius and insanity.
Harrowing. He had some recommended reading, too. When it comes to gameplay, sure I prefer 2, and I think most people would, but Infinity is an amazing monument. It's free, and the multiplayer is still somewhat alive. It is fun to see all
Oh,
the what
it's
ifs,
free?
even if playing it linearly does make you feel crazy. It is great to see how much an FPS could be, even this early on, but I don't want to think about Bungie anymore for a while. Infinity ends and the
I
story
had to
passes
do a
into
whole
myth.
lot of reading.
What's
and
really
I'm-
messed up is
my brain
the game was
hurts.
going to be set in the Marathon universe, and there's a lot of holdover from that. I don't want to get too far into
Are
it,
those
but
head crabs on them? You said Halo. I was like, that's
I always wondered how Cortana managed to give
Half-Life.
the Covenant such a run for their money at Installation 4. But then again, she wasn't the first AI we've seen do this.
just a funny little ball traveling around.
I don't care how many shotguns he has, I have no idea what's going on.
How long have I been looking at it? How have I seen it everywhere?
Hello, everyone. I'm looking for a Mr. Chief. A Mr. John Chief. I need to cancel my Paramount Plus subscription.
So let me get this straight. I'm somewhere that's not exactly what I would call Halo. I'm a freaking rampant AI. I'm seeing freaking bug alien soldiers and, oh yeah, I'm talking to a freaking cyborg security officer. Yeah, okay, that is something I do now.
It used to mean a world within a world, but now it's
okay.
But the
Mandalore
problem with
Gaming
this
has
is the project
officially
is
gone
in
insane.
Direct competition with the narrative Marathon tells. Let's look at the concept art.
I was like, nah, I don't know if that's the video or my headphones still dropping the sound. Don't tell me they came out with another marathon. I thought it was gonna be like, oh, Marathon Infinity and Beyond or some shit.
And the next award, There Is No Escape.
yeah, that's fair. Seconds, but you're free to explore around. Is there? Will I be
Right. Damn it! Wait a
on
minute.
games? It's a rare game that's still full of genuine mystery. In the internet age, that is rare. Will I be covering Total Warhammer 3's new Chaos DLC or the Immortal Empires beta? Not yet, no. How the latest version rolled out recording embargoes is good for like little videos or streams. For what I do, it would have been a nightmare to put together. Maybe when they shed the beta label and add Nolden Ironsides, redesigned Ironsides that look like big metal bricks with guns. I would be on that so fast. Anyway, I know this has
He
been
said
a lot
big
of
metal
like a
dicks
4
with
video
guns.
part project. We'll have a brain cleanser next time.
You are destiny.
Oh, what is it? I missed something. Ooh, that frame rate dropped way down, way down. And way down we go. Huh. So he said that's free. Maybe look, maybe he might have, if I can talk, he might have it in his description in that video. I looked it up, see if I can find it. Because I recently, well, yeah, I mean, that was the last week. I think I bought Pathologic 2 because I watched a review of his, and I was like, seemed like an interesting. I can't play the first one, but I might be able to find it. I think it's on Steam. It may be on PlayStation. I don't know if it's on PlayStation because that's why I bought Pathologic 2 on. Bought it on PlayStation. So whenever I decide to fucking start streaming, I thought about doing that today. Like streaming something, not Pathologic 2, but start streaming. I've been talking about streaming for like 3 years. And still haven't done it because before I was just recording gameplays and posting them. Posting them episodically until my demo. I think I explained this before. I'm pretty sure I have explained this before because this channel was a gameplay channel originally until I fucked up the audio for all of. Well, it was my fault because it's boiling hot in here in the summer, and I don't like turn on the air conditioning because I like that electric bill goes up. I was like, oh, I just have my fan just literally blowing on my nuts right in front of me, and it was picking up on my microphone, which I should have obviously known that. I don't know why I didn't think about that. And then someone looked at my video. I think it was one of the Uncharted games because I had done, I think, 9 playthroughs of full games, 9 games, and I think it was Uncharted. Thief's End. And someone said, what is that noise in the background? Can you edit that out? And I was like, what is he talking about? Because I did not like edit my videos. I like when I only wanted to be an hour long, so I would stop the recording at an hour rather than going in and chopping them up in a video editor. And then I would just post it up on YouTube. And I went back and looked at it because one thing I hate looking at myself when I'm editing. And so I didn't edit anything. And then I went back and looked at the video, and it was like just a loud noise. And you could barely hear me talk, and you could barely hear the game audio or the sound effects. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I went back and looked at all my gameplay, like just videos of, not the whole thing, obviously. And they were all fucked up. And I was like, why did I do that? I didn't want to look at myself so bad in editing that I just recorded myself playing 9 games from start to finish. It might have been a little bit more than that. I think I was playing another game, but I hadn't finished it. Or a couple other games, I think, actually. And audio's fucked up on all of them. So I just deleted all the ones where the audio was fucked up on. I still got some up there where I did like one-offs when I played the demo of Resident Evil 2, but I actually have that game. I bought that, I think, a year after it came out. I got I'm talking about the remake. Resident Evil 3. I had a bunch of different games. I was planning on either recording myself. Well, I was planning on recording some of them and streaming others, like streaming like games like The Witcher or Assassin's Creed games, like streaming those type of games. And then other games that are less open worldy and more linear, just recording them and posting them episodically. But Man, this marathon, like this shit, I had to like. It's like listening to a seminar or a lecture from a college professor, and then the professor was like, okay, at the end of the lecture, like, okay, just points at me and it's like, I want you to explain everything I said, this whole lecture. Like, go and tell me how, and not don't just repeat exactly what I said. Like, you basically also tell me what I said. So also I want you to repeat what I said, but then I want you to break it down and how you understand it. And that's like watching me, because even like Mandalorian Gaming is just like, it is kind of confusing, and he had to read like extra stuff to get a full grasp on it. And it's like, that's why I kind of want to play. That's like Pathologic too. I mean, he talked about that. It made me want to play the game because I wanted to understand it. From what he was saying, I was understanding what he was saying, but it's like if someone's talking, you can understand what they're saying. You don't fully grasp everything, obviously, because they're just talking. But then you want to go study yourself. It's like someone can tell you something about the coronavirus or what they know, just using that as an example, and then you want to go read up on it yourself. Like, okay, what are the symptoms? What should I be looking for? How does it spread? You know, was there this before the vaccine? Was there a vaccine? How close are they to making a vaccine? You know, then they're just like, it's like some people, it's like, oh, is there any side effects to a vaccine? I mean, I've seen people who had, like we got the smallpox vaccine, and I got that when I was in the service before I went to Afghanistan, and they were like, don't fucking scratch it. They shoot you in your arm. I think I still got that mark. It's kind of gone away. Oh, did it completely go away? Holy shit, it's gone. I ain't really. Well, I guess it's kind of still there. Kind of. It used to be much more. You better see it much better, but I think that's what it was. But they were like, don't scratch it, because it was like somebody could spread or something. They said they had someone do that, and they accidentally. And someone told me they accidentally did that. They scratched it, and not paying attention. And I think they said they did it in the shower or something like that. Accidentally like scratched the ink and scratched the scab off of it because the scab's up. And somebody spread, and I was like, spread? So you actually got smallpox? Like, when you talk about his spread, he just scabbed like got bigger on his arm. But I don't know, like he got smallpox or anything. But they had to cancel him going to, I think he was going to Qatar, if I'm not mistaken. It was somewhere over the Middle East. And so he was so mad because he said that was his second deployment, I think. And I was like me, I was trying to deploy so bad because I wanted the money. Because they were like, because I've seen people deploy, come back, pay off cars, pay it off, all their credit cards, bought houses, like because especially because they go over there, that you get hazardous pay, and on top of, I don't think they, if I remember correctly, I don't think you pay taxes. Why are you over there? But they don't take tax. I think you like tax exempt. It's not like self-employed person where you got to hold off and then pay the taxes later. It's like you don't have to pay taxes. I think. I might be mistaken, but I know I was getting like hazardous duty pay, and I was getting another pay. Because where I was at was like, at the time, was one of the more dangerous places, because I was in Kandahar, and I remember we had rocket attacks because it was funny because at the beginning we didn't really have that many, maybe a couple times a week, maybe a rocket attack. I'm saying someone would shoot a rocket at the base that we're on, and but around like November time frame, and really most of December into January, it got crazy. We had rocket attack. Even where they're going into February, it was like 7 to 8 a day. Like you heard that alarm, that rocket alarm go off just constantly, and it to the point where people was kind of, getting complacent, just ignoring it. And until I remember one night, I was working nights because I worked days the first half, and I was working nights. I think it was started the first week of January. I worked until I left in April. And I remember I was walking. I went to the bathroom because the bathroom, they had urine, not urine. They had porta potties, but I hated using them, and they were outside. Because they always would be stinking, or the people would clean them, and they have this little fluid, basically, like that kills the bacteria and stuff on it. And I hated those things. I want they be cold in there or hot in there, and it was cold outside, so I went to the bathroom across the street because it's indoor, and it had heat and air conditioning, And I walked out. I'm walking back across the street, and I better look up. I see this light, like coming like that, and I said, because I thought I heard like a loud noise, like a boom noise, and then I look up, and I saw like a light, like going like in the sky, like coming over the base, because apparently, I don't know the Taliban, ISIS, but they didn't have like targeting. But they would just basically take like an RPG and just shoot it like at the base and hope they hit something. And I remember looking at it, I said, is that a rocket in the sky? And all of a sudden that alarm went off. And I was in the middle of the street. So I ran back across the street and kind of got in a ditch because it was like just the road, and then dipped off into like a ditch type area for like runoff. And then it was just when I was like, it was someone also, it was a Marine on the other side of the street walking the way I was walking from. So he was like walking like this. And he got down. He got down flat. And then I remember because he crawled across the street. bear crawled. He crossed the street because like if it hit the street, then you'd be lower. So because of those things, they always said like get as flat as possible because when it hits, they usually blow up into like a V shape and go up. So if you're laying flat, it's less likely you would get hit with shrapnel. And I saw that thing, and then it went over, and we were sitting there for like, and then I heard it hit because you could hear him hit the ground because a lot of times they would miss the whole base. Sometimes they would land on the side where, like, a lot of times where the army was at, the army barracks was at, and they would just, and you hear like boom, like it hit, and then like shit, maybe a minute or two later, you hear those F-15 just take off, just taking off, and then I'm saying, and sometimes you could like if it was close. You can see the bullets and shit. I've seen that a few times when I was out there. Like it was a light show, and they were shooting at the mountains because they usually get up on the highest where they can go and then shoot. Or because the base was in like a valley, like it was like a big flat valley with surrounded by mountains. And they would just be up on the mountain, just shoot all at the base and just try to aim, so they shoot it like come down the arc and hit the base. But then you hit them, or I think they F-22s. I think they might be F-22s. Well, the jets. I'm not a pilot. I don't know, but them things take off. I remember I seen them take off once. Them motherfuckers. It's almost like they hear, and then before you realize, like if you watching it up close. Before you realize it, it's over here, and then you turn your head and it took off like it. But yeah, anyway, what was I going with that? Probably nowhere. I was just rambling. But yeah, so I had Pathologic too. Cause I was planning on. It was on sale too. I think it was on sale for like $12 or something, $12.99. I was like, yeah, I know. Because I remember you talking about it. So I was like, I'll play this on stream maybe when I decide to stream. I think about streaming today, but I don't know. But we'll see. Anyway, hope you enjoyed my reaction one. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're here. Hit that bell if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.